Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. In a minute, we're going to be speaking with Brad Langille. He's the CEO of GoGold Resources. They have an asset down in Mexico. I encourage you to look at the PowerPoint on their website. In there, you can see Brad and his team's track record of buying, developing, and selling assets and creating huge shareholder value. So, hello, Brad. How are you?
Good. Very good.
Fantastic. Where are you speaking to us from?
I am speaking to you from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Well, look, thanks for taking the time out to tell us your story. We've been through the PowerPoint, so I guess maybe just kick off for people new to the story. Give us a 2-minute elevator pitch.
Well, the group and myself and the companies I've led over the last 25 years have all been based in Mexico. Our success has been on the technical side, a very, very competent team in Mexico. We've had a lot of success on discovery. In Mexico, we have a good network of, in the business community, the government, in the mining sector. We've typically found projects that are a bit off the radar. Usually private individuals have owned these. We've been able to bring the capital markets to the projects. We've financed equity over the last 15 years for our projects, about $1 billion. Including some very large loans as well through banks such as the Bank of Montreal, Scotiabank, in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I've built 4 mines myself in my career, and strong technical team, a strong finance team that we're able to get these things done. So we're currently 1 mine operating in this company, GoGold, and we've just done an acquisition of exploration development project in Jalisco, Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, your presentation does make a lot of the fact that you guys are deal makers in the sense that you buy assets, you sweat them, you sell them, and you've got a good track record of making money.
You know, we have, and obviously we're in a cyclic industry. I mean, it goes up and down in the cycle, and right now we're pretty much at the bottom of the cycle, I believe. It's been a long winter in the resource business, but I think we're going to come out of this in the next 18, 24 months. Now, reminds me an awful lot of the first project that we had, which was the Ocampo project in a company called Gammon Lake. And that one was started at the bottom of the cycle as well. That was literally started in the garage in 1997. In 1999, we went into that project. We acquired it from a private family. We paid $15 million US for it. And at the top of the cycle, we were at $2.2 billion market cap. We built 2 mines there. Eventually, the mine was sold to Carlos Slim for $750 million US. Also, at the mid in the cycle, we bought another project called the El Cubo project. We bought that for $20 million from private family. We invested $45 million in a shell right out of the gate with the Bank of Montreal. That was Mex Gold. It was sold 3 years later for $375 million. That asset, the El Cubo asset, ended up in Endeavour Silver, and it was sold to them after about another 7 years of production for $250 million. So we've been able to bring capital, which is obviously very important in this business. It's a very capital-intensive business. And you combine that with a country that's mining-friendly, expertise in the development of assets. And yes, we've been able to turn tens of millions into hundreds of millions, sometimes billions.
There are cycles. Some commodities come in and out of fashion. Sometimes it's easier to raise capital than other times. In this case, for your project today, how are you playing this? How are you going to create value?
I think as a non-technical generalist, family office, high net worth, if you want some exposure to this sector, what you should be doing is looking for management teams. This is a business that's very capital intensive. I see companies that are either all promotion, especially in the good part of the cycle, and maybe lacking in the experience and the technical depth. Or the other extreme is that I see companies that are very, very technical, but can never put together the capital So I think with our group, what we've been able to do is combine that technical know-how. I'm by education, I'm a geologist, but really I've spent a lot of my career in the capital markets raising money. So I have a very strong technical team, which I can talk their language, I can understand what they're doing, but I'm also able to go to on the street to London, New York, and raise the capital. So I think when you can combine those two, you have a winning combination. The mining sector, from my opinion, for an investor, you should have some exposure. I mean, really, in the gold business, and it is very cyclic right now. The generalist market is booming. Who knows how long that'll last? But this is almost insurance. When we're inverse to the general market. When the general market typically is down, that's when the investors run to gold. That's when we typically do well.
Right.
I like to say, our timing is perfect. If you're there all the time, eventually it's perfect. And what I mean by that is that this is what we do. I'm not involved in a whole bunch of other public companies. I only ever do one public company in the mining sector at a time, typically, and we're very, very focused on resource.
There's a few things in there, obviously, that you covered off. So, people can look at commodity, they can look at gold, and you can argue the case of what type of gold investment you should have. Equities, physical, ETFs, etc. But coming back to and yes, people can be contrarian and so forth in terms of their investment strategies. But for you, coming back to your company, how are you going to play this? I mean, how are you moving the company forward? Because if I look at your share price, it's obviously down, as is everyone's, to be fair, but you want to sort of see some uplift there before you even contemplate raising money to do anything else. So what's your plan for this year?
The plan for this year, first of all, perfect company for me in this market is a company that can generate cash. And then where do you redeploy that cash? So really in this business, the value is created in the exploration development, or a lot of the value in that phase, exploration development to production, to construction production. So here in the goal for us right now is, first of all, was to have Parral working well, which it's doing now. And we just had the best quarter ever as far as production. We just released that. We see the quarter that we're in right now to be better than last quarter. Mm-hmm. We're targeting a number that's 500,000 ounces. So that would be substantially, for one quarter, 500,000 silver equivalent ounces. That'd be substantially better than we've ever done at the mine in the past. That would generate enough money, obviously, to pay all the expenses in the company and generate money to deploy into our new exploration development capital project. That's how we're going to play it. We're going to have Parral, where we have developed an expertise in retreating these old tailings, these old mine waste. And it's not what you call a sexy mining project, but it's a cash generating mining project. So what do you do with that cash? So that's the next phase. That's the parallel track. We do what we've done in the past. We find these off the radar projects like Ocampo in Gammon, which we turned into billions, or like our latest Los Ricos, which is exploration development. And it's going to be developed to a stage, we feel, when the market starts coming back, which I think will be the next 18, 24 months, our ducks are in a row. We have a district here where we're doing basically the same thing that we did in Ocampo. There was an old high-grade mine where they took out the heart, but they left behind what they would have considered non-economic back then. But today, in an open pit bulk mining scenario, and that's what we're going to drill off first, that is potentially 2 gram material, which is bonanza for us in an open pit. So we're drilling that off, and then we have this property which has tons of potential, over 35 kilometers of structure, where we're going to make new discovery. So production, so we don't have to dilute the stock. A lot of the other juniors right now in the exploration development business, and that's where the real value is created, have to go out and print shares to get capital. We don't have to do that. As you mentioned, we have a strong balance sheet, and we're starting to generate cash at the mine. Redeploy that cash into the part of the business, from our experience over the last 25 years, that really generates the equity growth.
A couple of questions for you there. You talk about the market. You think the market is coming back in the next 18, 24 months. You're under no illusion about what 2019 is. A lot of people seem very bullish about the price of gold this year because of the geopolitical turmoil. You're taking a slightly longer, more pragmatic approach to this. Is that right?
I am, and what I know is building mines and finding gold. I don't claim to be an expert on when the next upcycle is. That being said, we've raised a lot of money over the last 15, 20 years, and we know a lot of the institutions. And every time I'm in a meeting with one of these institutions, I ask them what they think as an investor, especially the mining focused investors. And what I'm hearing from them is 18, 24 months that they think will be firmly into the next upcycle. So I don't think anybody can predict for sure when it'll be, but for us, we're in a good position. We're a strong balance sheet. We're strong technical team. We have the assets in place that we wanted. This particular one we've been following for several years. So we'll get all our ducks in a row. We think from the response from the investment community, the focused mining investment community, it's going to be 18, 24 months. But today we're at a market cap of $40 million, and we have our ducks in a row, as I mentioned. So we're ready to go. So we'll be there ready when the market comes back. And I think we can, even in this market, we can generate some real returns here over the next 6 to 12 months with what we're doing.
You think investors looking at you should be looking at this as a 2-year, 3-year timeline? I'm just looking at your PowerPoint. You talk about how long you have assets for. You work them up to a point where you're maximizing their potential and their value, and then you exit. That you're not looking to create a kind of cash flow machine for the next 10, 20 years. You get in and out when the value is there.
Well, yeah, I think you have to look at our track record and what we've done. But it's important. When you have an asset that you've technically developed well, you've created real value where the premium major mining companies like Agnico Eagle are willing to pay you tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. When to do that, you have to do the work. But I'll tell you something, if you put the for sale sign on an asset, you're not going to get the best price. Yeah. You have to have, as part of your track record, that you have the ability to build the mines, and that you will build the mines, that you can put together the hundreds of millions of dollars to build the big mines. And then you'll find that people want to pay. So that has always been our strategy. And we can build the mines. El Campo was a 250,000 ounce a year producer, and it was a large pit with a large heap leach and a large underground mine. So, but I feel that the real value created for the shareholder is in our Los Ricos project from where it is today for the next 24 months. I just want to point this out. In a down cycle, you take the Santa Gratuitas project. Mm-hmm. Now that project had been sitting there for years in a little junior, trading at $1.5 million market cap. So in 2014, first we did a lot of due diligence, about 6 months of due diligence on the project. We were able to acquire. Once we jumped in there, we got a lot of competition from some other juniors, but we got it for $9 million. We spent another $11 million. We're in for $20 million 3 years later. We sold it for $80 million US. We retained a royalty of 2%. We've realized $12 million on that royalty, half cash, half shares. So shares have gone up by about 70%. So even in the bottom of the market, we generated some value for the company. What did we do to the value? We paid off all our debt. Now we have a mine that's generating cash, and we're debt free, and we have cash on our balance sheet. My point is, even in this down market, I believe over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to generate some real value for our shareholders in what we're doing.
There's some triggers there potentially for investors to look for. So you said, obviously, you don't put the for sale sign up. There, you just don't do that if you want to maximize the potential of the offer. What are the other little triggers, the things signs that people should look for?
I think when a company has to go to the market again, like it's tough to be going to the market right now.
So cash is king.
Cash is king for sure. Just one other point on just what I made there about throwing up the for sale sign. It doesn't really matter. The roadmap to building a mine or the roadmap to selling an asset is the same roadmap. So we just go into a project and we say we do the right systematic work towards building a mine, and if somebody comes, they come. So that's what we do on the asset side. But for us right now, it's all about cash is king, strong balance sheet, strong technical team, a country that we know extremely well, right, and the ability to move things forward.
So lots of optionality when you've got cash. Just a sort of generic one, how do you think you did in 2018, and what would you have done differently?
In 2018, what would we have done differently? We would have had Los Ricos sooner, but we couldn't control that. It was a process, and it took as long as it took. In 2018, the end of 2017, we sold our assets to Fortuitous. Now, we love Santa Fortuitous. We made a lot of money on it, but I'll tell you, at that point we had a lot of debt. So the ability to move that asset, gave us a strong footing. I think that I would say that our producing mine, of all the 4 mines I built, it was probably the toughest. We did something new there. And sometimes it's overlooked. We created some really new technology. We took these old tailings. We did something that nobody's ever done before. We heap leach these tailings. So we do have that as well. I mentioned it's not a sexy mining project, but there's hundreds of millions of tons of these in Mexico, and nobody's done that before. And we've developed the know-how around that. So never say never. We may do one of those again, and just to generate more cash.
And do you have the ability, one, to identify additional assets and then option them because of your connections and the fact you've been working there for 25 odd years? And is that part of the strategy going forward? I know it's not right now, but is that what you're thinking?
You see what opportunities come to you. And we do have a lot of projects that come to us, and we look at an awful lot of projects. I would say that we're a very focused team, though, and really the focus right now is that Los Ricos project. Maybe there'll be some more consolidation around it, but the focus is that project, and we'll keep the team very focused on that. There is, some people have mentioned that you look at our where we trade in the market as far as market cap. You look at some similar companies. You say we're all trading at about a 0.3 times NAV, net asset value. Is there money to be made in M&A? I think there's far less money to be made in M&A than there is in what we're doing right now. If we built a lot more market cap and the rest of the market is still really depressed, we could revisit that. Obviously, we've said this publicly, we've looked at a lot of M&A opportunities. I just think there's way more money created in the development of this Los Ricos asset.
Can I ask then, so this year I think you've sort of explained what you're going to be, the process you're going to be going through this year and probably next as well. So 5 reasons people should get interested in and believe in your operation and look at potentially investing in you as well.
A few reasons why they should is because one is cycle. So cycle, we're at the bottom of the cycle. So there are other companies obviously at the bottom of the cycle as well. So what differentiates us? We have cash. We have a strong balance sheet. The last thing you want to be doing is going to the market raising equity at the bottom of the cycle. Second thing is that we have a track record. We have generated literally billions of dollars of value over the last 25 years in a country that we know very, very well, both on the political governmental and mining business in Mexico. I think the other thing is that if you look where we're positioned right now, besides that strong balance sheet, we're going to start generating cash. We have a mine that we've been mining now going on 5 years. It was a little bit difficult to start up, but it's working really nicely now. You're going to see production growth over the next couple of quarters. So when you have production growth, you have strong balance sheet, and then we have Los Ricos. Now we're back in our wheelhouse. Right. Our wheelhouse is drilling like we did at Ocampo. We're just drilling around an old high-grade ore chute. That's where we're starting. That's basically grid drilling for resource. But we have 35 kilometers there, and we have other targets that we're starting to trench. We're going to have some news about some of those results. Those targets are going to be that exploration development where we hope we find ore chutes that have never been discovered before. And when you look at what was there and was mined in the 1920s, and you say, what would that look like today with the heart still left? I mean, it looks great sitting there even as a bulk target. It's going to be one of the, hopefully, the high-grade open pit mines. Mm-hmm. But you say, well, what about finding one of those where nobody had found it before and all the heart is there? Then it's going to be a real bonanza. So we have that opportunity. So I don't know if I've given 5 reasons, but I'll tell you it's cash, it's experience, technical team, country knowledge, and we have the right project now. So those are going to be the drivers. We're going to have a lot of news coming out over the next 6 months, and we have a lot of catalysts that are going to drive that stock. We've been down for a while like everybody else, but we've got now we have the tools in the toolbox here to really start creating some value.
And just one thing, you're the team have got, how many shares do the management board hold?
Well, I'd be the second largest shareholder. So I'm about 10% of the company. Management has about, and insiders about 30%. And right. Then we've had good, even in this market, we've had some good institutional support. You can see some of our institutional shareholders there as well. And
are you primarily focused on institutional capital coming through when you need it, or do you look at the retail to drive the kind of liquidity and volume component?
You know, I think really this market is the upcycle is going to start with maybe some retail interest. I think we need to work and generate some more retail following of our company. Traditionally, we've had a lot of institutional support. Right where we are in the market, it seems a lot of the institutions have gone away, but I think that will change over the next 12 to 18 months. So we're out there. We're now we have something to talk about with this new project. Yeah. And the mine's working well, and the balance sheet. So we're out there on the road, and we're telling our story, and it's a really good story. So I think we'll get some interest.
Fantastic, Brad. Thanks for your time. I've enjoyed listening to the story, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching our video. We do aim to give you informed and intelligent information with which to make your investment decisions. So if you liked what you just saw, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see more insightful, in-depth, honest, and unbiased interviews, then please click the subscribe button. So thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.